Hi, I'm Yvette Brown, co-founder of XPromo's Marketing Mastery, and I am here with my business partner of over 30 years, Sherry Nomadi, and Kathy Parks, my longtime dear friend and creator of the Parks method of selling to retail stores. I'm excited to announce that the three of us have worked together to launch the Sell to Stores on Demand course. It's going to be out later this month, and we are teaching inventors how to successfully sell their product to retailers. So, one question that's on everyone's mind now is, with the pandemic, what consumer behavior will stay, and what habits do you think will return after we're out of the pandemic?
Well, Yvette, that is a great question and one that many people are trying to answer right now. And analysts are really trying to predict this. According to a very recent McKinsey & Company report on holiday shopping analysis, more than 60% of consumers that have changed their shopping behaviors since this pandemic began, they intend to stick with them.
Yeah, and that's a startling stat, but of course I have to say that what a consumer says they're going to do and what they actually do don't always match up.
Nevertheless, we're seeing e-commerce continue to boom. It's no shock that 37% of consumers are planning to shop more online this year. Omnichannel, which is multi-channel shopping, remains key this holiday season as consumers look to multiple channels for their gift inspiration.
Also of note is that consumers plan to spend less this year, and they're looking for value. 39%, in fact, plan to spend their dollars on blockbuster days like Black Friday or Cyber Monday. However, even those holidays are going to look different, as many retailers are now replacing these single event days with a much longer Black Friday season.
Yeah, it really is a season this year, isn't it?
Indeed.
So what do you guys think which of the pandemic changes, like online shopping, do you think we will see stick afterwards?
I think the jury is still out on whether these pandemic changes will stick as long-term habits. In fact, Josh Silverman, CEO of Etsy, said, "We are all creatures of habit, and shopping is largely habit-driven. There are very few times in one's life when you have an opportunity to reshape their habits. The classic three are when you get married, when you move, and when you have a baby. And otherwise, your habits are pretty cemented. You're not really open to forming new habits." And so what this current moment has created is a moment when everyone's habits are up for grabs.
It's also noteworthy that Etsy's merchandise sales actually rocketed 145.6%, and that equates to 2.7 billion in the last quarter.
Wow.
As it has sold shoppers everything from masks to do-it-yourself crafting kits to custom furniture for new home offices. And they've really recently begun to do this fall media campaign. I wonder if they're spending that money after such an unexpectedly strong year they're having.
It's a really good question, Sherry. I kind of think it might be. But now we know that it's not just how we shop that's been affected by the pandemic. It's also what we're buying. So, for example, I know the apparel space has definitely been affected.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time, don't we, guys? Like the sales of sweats and yoga pants have just skyrocketed. I know I've been a part of that also.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you look at major fashion shifts, it's interesting to note that fashion historians say the biggest shifts have historically come not from runway trends, but following events such as global wars that disrupt society on a huge scale, or the pandemic. The impact often accelerates and normalizes changes already underway.
Well, I'd certainly say the pandemic falls into that category, right?
Yeah.
It sure does. A great example of this is how women started wearing pants more regularly after World War II, when they were hurried into the workforce. Historian Kimberly Chrisman Campbell described it as having done it by necessity, they began to do it by choice.
That's such a great quote. Really
Yes.
sums it up, doesn't it?
Mhm.
And, given the explosion of the athleisure trend over the last few years, coupled with companies that are now allowing long-term remote work, it really might take quite a while for the sale of things like dress slacks to bounce back.
Isn't that the truth? Yep. So, what are you guys seeing in the grocery sector? Do you think the trends that are like curbside pickup and delivery are going to continue to grow?
Well, last spring, the pandemic drove huge online grocery sales. But when the stay-at-home orders started to ease up, the numbers also started to wane. So personally, I really think people like shopping at retail, at least some sort of retail. Everyone is different, but I imagine more consumers will be picking and choosing. The pandemic has sort of taught us that we can effectively do some shopping comfortably online, but many of us really like visiting retail. We enjoy the experience and we want to spend time there. And I really don't think that's going to change forever.
I agree, Sherry. Shopping for many of us is fun for many different reasons. What grocers, like other retailers, are looking at is how much the growth of alternate delivery methods slowed after the first pandemic peak. Those are the indicators that are impacting future investments in fulfillment options and how quickly existing ones pay off. Companies like Kroger, Walmart, and Target and others have invested billions in automated warehouses, curbside pickup, and other order fulfillment options. This was already ramping up after Amazon went omni-channel with the 2017 acquisition of Whole Foods.
In short, brick and mortar retailers are really trying to use the clues of consumer behavior right now to decide whether or not they should accelerate capital investment around the e-commerce. And while online grocery sales are growing at a much faster rate than ever before, even before the pandemic began, there are signs that not all consumers are eager to do their grocery shopping online for the long run. I really think it's going to take a while for the impact of the global pandemic to shake out and see where the new normal puts us.
So, in other words, it's anybody's guess.
Yes, but what we do know is that brick and mortar is here to stay. It still represents the lion's share of the marketplace. That's why we are working to help inventors connect with retail to maximize opportunities for both parties. Our free live webinar on discovering how inventors successfully sell to stores is open for registration now. We are dropping the link in the description below so you can register.